March 2023, a group of researchers formed the Truth Mafia, a collective determined to investigate conspiracies and occult mysteries that have been buried for centuries. With a passion for uncovering the truth, they delve into the darkest corners of history, pop culture, and ancient mysteries, seeking answers to questions that have plagued humanity for ages. The Truth Mafia is led by Tommy Truthful, a man shrouded in mystery and intrigue, dedicated to uncovering the hidden truths behind some of the world's most perplexing and enigmatic phenomena. Their research has led them down countless rabbit holes, from deciphering ancient symbols to exploring the hidden meanings behind popular media and literature. Despite the risks and challenges they face, the Truth Mafia remains steadfast in their quest for knowledge. Will their investigations lead to groundbreaking revelations, or will they unravel an even deeper web of secrets and lies? Only time will tell in this ongoing saga of conspiracy and intrigue.
Welcome, my brothers and sisters, to another episode of the Truth Mafia podcast. Today, I got a special guest with me, and before we get going, make sure you smash that like button, share this video, and today, this video is sponsored through Body Align and the Energy Wellness Band. That link is down in the description as well. Use promo code Truth Mafia. It helps to protect you against the EMF and microwave radiation. Has the Shugnite, the Torlamine all grounded up in the band, and then it has a certain frequencies binded to that hologram that helps protect your DNA and your body from the effects of the EMF and microwaves. Which just look up EMF sickness. You know, the mass rollout of the electric grid just so happened to be the same time as the Spanish flu. You know, we're not supposed to be around this type of energy. And don't forget the most important thing, guys. It takes 2 seconds. Make sure you go over, opt in to our daily newsletter. That's on truthmafia.com. That link is down below. That way you get notifications whenever we're going live, when we drop a new project, or when from any of the team over at Truth Mafia, like our boy Donut Factory. Shout out to Donut, the One-on-One Podcast, Paranoid American, Anya Soru, Waters Above. Yesterday, me and Waters did a phenomenal live. If you haven't got to check that one out, I highly recommend it. It's up on Truth Mafia right now. Simulated reality, where we was breaking down Saturn, and today is going to get into that a little bit, touch on Saturn, because we're going to be talking about some symbolism, the Phoenicians, and I got a special guest with me today, my boy Paranoid American. What's up, brother? Let me unmute your mic. Yeah, how you doing, buddy?
We're doing good, man. We're navigating that checkerboard floor like always.
I hear that. My honorary Freemason here, the only one I mess with. You know, he's one of the good ones, guys. One of the good ones. We're still trying to bring him over to Jesus Christ over here, right? We're trying to bring him to Jesus Christ.
Oh, see, when you say that though, all I think is like, I don't know if I want to do the York Rite yet, because that's
You're not ready for the York
Jesus
Rite
is
yet.
the Mason. Yeah, you would join York Rite and you would get to the Templar degree.
Yeah. New York Rite is under that 24 energy too. I found out they love that 24 number. But yeah, you know, I really don't care what you are. You're one of my friends. As long as you ain't sacrificing little kids, we're good. And as long as you're not a reptilian, although these reptilians are definitely out here, and the Phoenicians might be descendants of that bloodline of CAIN. I don't know, but there is definitely a connection numerology.
I never heard that. The Florida Project. That looks dope, actually, with the big V on it.
Oh, dude, that's a tight book. You never read that one?
No, I never read that. I never even heard of that Florida Project.
I'm gonna send that to you. I'm gonna send that one to you. You can send me a cool book.
I honestly don't do a lot of fiction, but that one I would give a shot with.
Oh, you would like this one. You would like it. It's a good one, bro. I highly recommend it. It's whoever wrote that is on some other shit. And you know, I always bring up how they mention these aquatic water lizards in the Talmud, talking about, you know, these species of lizards living in the water, and you hear all these stories about these ancients worshiping these aquatic entities. The Phoenicians that we're going to get into today, they were really tied to the water in maritime and all that, right? Paranoid American?
Yeah, I mean the Phoenicians, that's where our language comes from. It's like the whole premise of maritime law and just being like a marine seafaring merchant class. A lot of that gets linked to the Phoenicians.
Yeah, it is crazy. You see, like you had the Proto Canaanite, and then it goes into the Phoenicians. Well, Ergeric or whatever the hell that is under the Proto Canaanite. So Proto Canaanite was the Canaanites and the Phoenicians kind of the same thing?
Yes, my understanding is that Canaanite kind of refers to biblical terms. Like even the word Canaan meant the land of purple, I believe. And Phoenician is also a reference to that purple color, phoenix, but it was like a color. So both of them, I believe, are cultures that were named after their unique ability to harvest this particular pigment. And it started in Canaan, but then Phoenicians, that was when the people in Canaan start expanding out through the rest of the sea, and they kind of become these international sea merchants. And at that point, Phoenician refers to this entire empire of people that maybe came directly out of Canaan.
Wow, and they were really known for this pigment, this purple pigment. It's kind of bluish purple. Paranoid America said there were different shades. And you guys remember with the whole Hawaii thing, the blue didn't burn. There's this whole huge blue symbolism right now. But you say there was different versions of this color, right? Paranoid
Yeah,
America?
so they specifically came from this Murex sea snail. That's the very particular type of snail that it came from, and the name of this was Tyrian purple, and that's because Tyre was the capital city of Canaan. So and again, like this is the same thing that the Phoenician purple, the Tyrian purple, is all reference to this same city and where they all kind of came out of, also known as imperial purple. And this was the most expensive because it was the rarest to get, so it was reserved for rich and royals only. And like I was saying, there's a whole bunch of different colors, for example. So you've got one particular type of snail. I'll probably butcher the names, but it's called a hexaplex trunculus, and that gives you indigo. And then if you want like a purple red, then there's one called the Bolinus brandaris, and that one will give you like a red version. And the most rare of all of them was called, of the Tyrian purples, they called it a blackish clotted blood color, and it was made from the indigo and the purple red combined into one, which was the two rarest that you could come across. And this was almost like a two-tone. You know, you see like one of those cars that drives by, and when the light hits it, it'll go from purple to black, or it'll go from green to red or whatever. It was
Yeah, yeah.
so dark of a purple that you would have to see the light hit it just a certain way for it to even look purple. Otherwise, it would look black. And that was the most luxurious that they had.
And this is what the nobles, the kings and stuff would wear, right?
In the 4th century, it was actually illegal for anyone but royalty to wear that. And I think it was the Roman
Oh,
emperor at that point. He didn't want anyone to compete because he had like this fly wardrobe, and he wanted to compete with anyone else that had the purple. So it would be a punishable offense.
wow, that's interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy symbolism with purple. You know, it ties into Saturn too. That color, it's heavily connected to Saturn, and we talked about that yesterday. Me and Waters, like I said in our episode, it was pretty cool. And then we see the speaking of symbolism, the sigil of Saturn looks very much like, well, it's a sine wave, right? But it looks a lot like the Masonic compass. Um, and then you have the sigil of Azazel. Do you know anything about the sigil of Saturn and the connection to the Masonic compass? Is there a connection there, or do they just look similar?
I mean, does anything just look similar without it being more than a coincidence? I don't know. I do know that like the Masonic square and compass wasn't even specific to the Freemasons exactly as one of the signs, because there was a lot of other groups that just used that same kind of symbolism of building and of architecture in order to establish everything. I would say it's almost like this: the fact that the symbol of Saturn and a square and compass do look so similar probably has a lot to do with why masonry is still around after being started and restarted in the 1400s and 1700s. You know how many of these secret reading clubs just kind of came and went in the matter of a few decades. Like even the Bavarian Illuminati on the books, it only lasted for maybe 2 to 3 decades max. And there's so many others that we don't even know the name of because they just were a flash in the pan. So I think there's a reason why the square and compass still persists today, and it's because it's got so many coincidences, if we'll call them that, with a lot of other relevant ceremonial magic.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's a very powerful symbol. And I've heard many times too that it represents a sexual symbol, like the male mounting the woman, and then the G is the penis or the all-seeing eyes, the tip of. You ever hear that one?
Well, look at there's an inherent symmetry with both, right? There's an implication of opposites, and there's also this idea of like sacred geometry that's built into it. I mean, it's also like a six-pointed star, right? It's
Yep.
got so many different things that are woven into that.
The as above, so below, the masculine and the feminine. Yeah. Before we get going into this too much, what was your reason for joining the Masons? I know your grandpa was involved. My grandfather was too, but I was always kind of weirded out by him when I was a little kid with that crazy ass hat he came home with. But it was like a Shriner
I didn't
hat.
know anything about Masons at all, except for things that I read about in Tex Mars and Alex Jones and all the other conspiracy literature. So at the time, before I even knew my grandpa was a Mason, because my dad wasn't, he didn't hold that tradition or anything. I was like all in on the conspiracy. They're running the world, like they're the stone cutters, like the Simpsons said. And I was wearing my grandpa's ring. And the long story short is a Mason came in and he starts quizzing me, and I got no idea what he's talking about. And he eventually was like, "Why are you wearing this Masonic ring if you don't know anything about it?" And it kind of rocked my world because I was like, "Damn, was my grandpa a bad guy?" And even more important, is there like some secret treasure? Like now I'm rich because grandpa was a Mason, you know what I mean? And like he must have had some kind of power or riches or something. And it turned out it was way more boring than that. But I mean, part of it was my grandpa a bad guy, but the other part was, maybe I've got it in. Maybe I can infiltrate up in here and like, spill it all for everyone. And that was
Yeah.
kind of what got me into it. It was like I thought I was gonna be like a double agent. Maybe I wasn't like going in with like an ill intent, but I was definitely like, if they're doing anything crazy, I have no problem uploading a video to YouTube over this. This was 2006 or something, so it's been almost 15 years.
And so far, it's been pretty boring, you said, on your journey.
I mean, there's interesting parts, but all the things that people like the Satan worshiping and like the sodomy and everything. I mean, that would be more. I'm not saying I'll be in for that, but that'll be way more interesting than the things that I actually see happen. And I've heard crazy stories about what happened in the 40s and the 30s, and I don't even know how much any of those are true, but none of it even comes close to the most salacious of like blood magic and like sacrifice. None of that and I mean, I don't know, the people that are in there, I would be shocked and impressed if they got some of these like 70-year-old family men that are spending all their time volunteering, but then also once a year they go and do some blood ritual. I don't know. It would be interesting to me. And I don't feel like I would cover it up. I would be like, damn, this actually makes it more, maybe people will remember this in 100 years from now versus they just raised some money and had like a potato barbecue or something.
Right, yeah. But a lot of the secret societies, people don't know the Rosicrucians. There's different secret societies that use the same symbolism. So I think like the Freemasons, the people that's really running the world that use that similar symbolism, they're like, okay, let them go ahead and take the brunt of it, because people ain't
Well,
looking
look at the Bavarian Illuminati, man. The Bavarian Illuminati of the 1800s, they were undoubtedly powerful. They caused some actual societal change like across the world, like arguably behind the French Revolution, arguably behind a whole bunch of other mini revolutions, maybe even going into the Italian Carbonari. But the way that they came into power is they just infiltrated Masonic lodges because that's where all the important people were meeting at the time that had the power. So if you could, hack into them, it was like hacking into like the government mainframe. If you can hack in the government mainframe, well, now you got the power of the government. So they just kind of hacked in the masonry, And I think that that's always been the case up until the early 1800s. And by then, I think that Masonry was on a steady decline downwards. And that's provable. If you look at a chart of Masonic membership from the 1950s to 2020s, it's just like a free fall. You know, it's like it's like Toys R Us stock.
Right. Yeah. Nobody's it's like they're handing it out now. They're trying to streamline you right to the highest degrees now. You know, hey, you can join on the internet too. It's crazy. Like
Well, it's always been like that, actually. That was one of the reasons of the Southern jurisdiction forming and the whole Grand Council of Scottish Rite and everything. All sounds all official, but one of the main reasons for that to exist was because there were Masons going door to door, be like, "Hey, do you want to be a 33rd degree Mason by 5 o'clock tonight? Do you got $30?" You know what I mean? And then people would be like, "Oh, I'll do it for 20." And then all of a sudden, there was these like weird sales battles. It was like door to door salesman styles. So part of that of setting up the Supreme Council was to put an end to a lot of those and have like a central authority would say, okay, now you're not allowed to solicit. Now you're not allowed to charge money directly for certain degrees. They put a cap on degrees. All that happened because of exactly what you're talking about. They were just like, yo, get in the door, give me $30. Now they got proof that their ranks are even higher and they can use that and be like, damn, everyone on the block but you's a Mason. What's wrong with you? Oh, you do want to join? Okay, give me that $30. And then it just turns into a racket.
That is kind of crazy right there, you know. And then you hear the stories. Okay, so the true, like people in the lower degrees, 32nd, 31st, 30, they don't really learn that true stuff until they get to a 33rd, and that's when all the secrets come out. Do you know if that is any truth to that?
I don't think so. I mean, I've
I
dug into this. I know 33rd. I'm not a 33rd. 33rd is an honorary degree. You got to earn it by being reputable, famous, doing something major, save, you know, like a cat from a tree or like a lady from a burning building, something that would
invite you.
Yeah, you got to do something that would make other people want to join, essentially, or you have to improve Masonry or the world in some like great way. It's like it's a huge honorary degree. So usually if you get famous or if you go to the moon or if you become a president and you were a Mason, they'll just automatically make you this 33rd degree. And that's like the one version of it. And I've heard all the stories that I know that you've heard. In fact, this is one of the funny things, right? It's like I've been into Freemason conspiracy theories since the 90s. This is like my old man talk, right? But like since the early to mid 90s, I was in to researching the Illuminati and the Freemasons, all these secret societies, all of the exposés from the 1800s and the early 1900s, all that, and William Morgan and the guy that apparently they took out, like every single story, I've heard them all, and Leo Taxel and worshiping Baphomet. So now people will be like, oh, you're just not high enough. Like I know that when you get to the 35th degree or something, that's when it all happens. But like if the person's saying that, their source is also Leo Taxel. Like, great, I've read Leo Taxel too. I've actually read, I think, every book I could get my hands on. So how would someone else that's not even in the structure be claiming that they got this knowledge? The knowledge came from the internet. Let's not lie to ourselves. It came from the internet or it came from a David Icke book at like Barnes and Noble or Amazon, right? So unless they got some like deep, unless they're like, yo, I made it to the 40th degree and here's my credentials and here's the proof and here's what they do at that level. But those people are few and far between, and the ones that come out usually are selling books and have like t-shirts and stuff.
Yeah. Or they'll have there's this one guy, he's supposed to be a high-ranking Mason, but his face is always blacked out. You can never see him, and he's talking in a computer voice. You ever see that one?
No, I mean, I like it. It sounds interesting. Sounds like the kind of thing that I would eat up.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So he tells all these crazy things, but like you said, you really don't know. But the whole thing is definitely
I don't think that you'd even have to be high up, man. If someone really wanted you to be part of some nefarious scheme, all you'd have to be is a 3rd degree. You just have to be a Master Mason. You wouldn't have to do any other side degrees. Because that's as deep as you can get in, as I understand. 3rd degree is as deep as you can get in, and everything else is like Cub Scouts. It's like if you get to Eagle Scout, it doesn't matter if you collect 50 badges or 10 badges. Like, you're still an Eagle Scout with other Eagle Scouts. It's just the people that collect more badges, they tend to have more skills, and maybe they can tie more knots than you. but they don't rank higher than you. And that's exactly how all these other degrees in masonry work. Is like once you get to the 3rd degree, there's no more climbing up the ladder. Now you're just fishing around for different patches to kind of put on your lapel.
Yeah, that's definitely pretty interesting, bro. I always, these are the questions I always wanted when that one dude went at you for being a Mason, Longo or whatever the hell his name is. These
He's
are
a
all
good
questions.
friend. That was all an act, bro. We're like best friends behind the scenes.
Oh, are you guys?
Oh yeah, it was all big act.
Yeah.
We talk like every day.
Longo. Yeah, his team hit me up to interview him, but I never heard back from him. I would have gave him a little interview, but yeah, it's quite fascinating. You hear all the different stuff, you hear, this conspiracy I heard the other day, and this one is crazy, bro. I'm going to bring this guy on to interview him about it and let him break it down. So he says that the people really running the world are melanated people. They're black. And it ties back to this thing called the empire. And he said that Albert Pike, this is what he told me. All the Masons were all black at one time, all the secret societies, and that Albert Pike was the first white Mason.
I don't know if that matches up with historical record, but I guess in those cases, you're just throwing historical record out the window and saying that the Masons have been lying about everything since the 1800s, right?
Yeah, I guess that's the real deal, he says. And but it's fascinating, some of the stuff he was talking about. I'm always open-minded, and I'll listen to anyone and let them.
Well, I think that there's a strong argument to be made that melanated secret societies are better at what they do because they have remained way more secret. Like a bunch of white guys get together and make a secret society. You know about it within a week because they're all advertising how secret their society is and how dope it is to be in this secret group, right? Like they can't help themselves.
Yeah, that is true. Like the Boule, right? That's a kind of
great example, perfect example.
Yeah, that's kind of the black people's version of Skull and Bones, really, kinda. In
right,
nutshell.
but it seems that people of all creeds and races that care at all about secret societies probably all have heard about Skull and Bones and Freemasons, right? But very few have heard of Boule, and even less of those have kind of heard of some of the other smaller sects. Like even if you know about Masonry, a lot of people don't know about Prince Hall Freemasonry because it's like a subset, it's like a niche within that. And Prince Hall Masonry, they do, I think that is probably way more legit Masonic versus.
That's all the Caribbean. The Caribbean is all that Prince Hall Freemasonry.
Well, for the longest time, for over 200 years, it was the only way you could be in Freemasons and be black.
Yeah, down there. I mean, they still got some crazy things going on. In Kimberly, yes, we are all melanated. We're all different shades of melanin. But I'm talking about, dark melanated people. We can't even call them African American because
no, I heard Afro-Asiatic is one of the phrases for this particular type of context that we're talking about.
Yeah. So this guy told me that there's two branches of the Moors too, and one's like evil and really running everything, and then the other one's like this front version, watered down version. It's not what the real thing is. So I can't wait to have him on though. Matter of fact, you might know him, Dominic. Remember that podcast we did about Egypt and America? Weren't you on that?
Oh yeah. No, that was a great episode. On 100%. I actually I'm a little biased towards that particular explanation because I'm a big fan of the idea that a lot of people talk about now like, oh, it wasn't Columbus that got here first, it was the Vikings that got here first. And then someone will be like, well, it wasn't the Vikings, actually the Chinese got here first. And there's like all this debate, but I like the idea that everyone started here and then they like all went out adventuring into the rest of the world. And then there's like, well, how did they get all of these symbols of corn, or how did they get these practices that seem to have originated in one place and spread over? Well, it's because America was the original central point of everything. And that fits directly into America is the original landscape of ancient Egypt. It's the original landscape of Jerusalem. that whole
Yeah.
aspect of 5% and a nation of Islam, right? Even they kind
Right.
of lay on top of like the Quran, and everything that happens in the Middle East happens on the East Coast of the United States. And it sounds silly to someone that's only paid attention to like the official narratives for a while, but it's interesting. Even if it's not true, I think that it makes all the sense in the world to apply things that might have happened in a different time period and a different region and just put them directly on this country. I think it makes way more sense than anything else.
It does. It's fascinating too. So if you look at that Egyptian map of America being Egypt, there's like one map floating around that everybody reshares.
And Vegas
Another
is like Memphis or something, right? I can't remember what it is, but it's like on
well,
that side. It's like basically in the Vegas area.
yeah, well that was all that area is where like Israel was too, kind of in that Arizona, well Dallas. They say Dallas was Egypt, remember? Because that's why JFK was
Dallas, yeah,
second.
yeah.
So then where I'm at in Ohio was freaking Babylon, dude. This is Sodom and Gomorrah over here, which I mean, I could see that for sure. The Midwest is freaking crazy. I could see it being Babylon, Detroit, Chicago. You know what I'm saying? This is like the last real hoods in America. So it makes sense. But yeah, that theory's always been fascinating to me too. And I definitely do think they lie a lot. So who knows what the truth is? We'll never really know for sure, Paranoid American. But I think it's kind of cool what we do, trying to figure it out and look into it. It's a fun topic to look at. I like looking at different narratives. Now, with these Phoenicians, what what was their role in the modern world that we have now?
The Phoenicians is really interesting dynamic. So they got a whole bunch of different versions. I guess the one that's the most interesting than what we're talking about is that they had the concept of sacrifice, a whole lot of different types of sacrifice, not just for land, but for water and commerce. Because again, they started on the land and then they took to the seas. And what happened is that the types of worship and the types of rituals that they would do to ensure success on the sea and success in trading and commerce would be slightly different than like their land counterparts. So what happens is it starts as people that are mostly concerned with agriculture and worshiping these two-horned, bull gods in order to bring rain and crops and just sort of fertile ground. That was the traditional role of agricultural gods and these like Baal Hammon and Baal Hadads and all these balls. But
Right,
then once they took to the sea, it shifts a little bit. Now they care more about sort of like Neptunian gods. They care more about like typhoons and swells and just like having better seafaring luck. And then there's almost a split at a certain point because you leave the land and now all you care about is safe passage through the seas, and your values and the things that you care about putting your focus into and want to save are way different. Now you don't really care how crops are doing on the ground, hundreds of miles away. You care about the monsters in the sea and like the lightning and making sure that you get home safe. So over time, it kind of splinters into all these different cultures and communities. So Phoenician's a huge umbrella term, but you got the Phoenicians that are at sea constantly. You got the Phoenicians that are at the coast and they're just doing commerce and trade. And you also got Phoenicians that maybe they were like, all right, I've made enough money. Now I'm going to settle down. I'm going to start a farm. I don't want to be on a boat all the time. And these are all technically Phoenicians, but they all have vastly different gods. And I think that that's one of the most undersold aspects because like this Phoenician Empire, this is predating Roman Empire, right? And a lot of
right.
people give Romans all this credit for founding modern civilization, but like that little chart you showed, it's really the Phoenicians that are kind of the granddaddies to all the Western civilization that we know it. But this was Rome's whole intent, and I guess this is the most fascinating part I find about all of the Phoenicians is that Rome decides they make this declaration and they say we're going to destroy the Phoenicians off the map. At this point, their home base with Carthage. It wasn't Canaan anymore, and Carthage was this gateway to like right between Sicily and the northern tip of South Africa. And if you could control Carthage, then you basically got to control the trade between all the different seas. So Carthage becomes their home point, and Rome just declares, we're gonna erase Carthage off the map. We're gonna burn all their books. We're gonna get rid of all their history, all their people, men, women, children. We don't care. Like, everything's got to go. And they did it, and they wiped them off the map. And you only knew that Carthage exists or Canaanites exist through the Bible or through like very specific historical texts for the next few thousand years. And then all of a sudden, modern excavation and archaeology, this starts digging up all these things that had just kind of been stories for the longest time. So here's the really underlying story, is that our culture is essentially Phoenician culture, and all the Romans did is they came in and they said, oh, you guys are doing all this magic out in public. You're doing this, all these sacrifices of your family and friends to your gods, and that can't be done in public. Like, that has to be done underground. So they eradicated it. It was literally the state religion. Rome makes it no longer the state religion, but Rome also continues doing this, but they make it for the men only now, the military class, right? Only the Spartans could do it. And now that they continue all the crazy practices, like skinning animals and running around with blood on you and like doing all these sacrifices, they would continue it, but they would do it to like only secret societies could do it. And I think that that's like this really specific transition. Rome represents taking all that Phoenician culture and making it occulted.
And why? So Carthage was where Hannibal was from, right?
Right.
Hannibal,
With the big elephant wars and everything.
Yeah, the one that he almost beat Rome, they said. Hannibal, he was like in a 25-year war with them. What was some wars called? Do you remember the Punic Wars?
The Punic Wars represent, and there was like 2 or 3 Punic Wars, I think.
Yes, there was 3 of them. I can't remember which one was Hannibal, but this dude was like out of his mind. He freaking really brought elephants over the Alps through snow. Imagine that, bro. Seeing that army coming, you've never seen nothing like that before, and they're coming into freaking Rome. That would be crazy, right?
That's probably one of like the most badass visuals that any history class has ever taught. Yeah, were these like elephant run sort of like military factions.
Yeah, they got to make a movie on that, bro. Like a new modern type movie on that subject, because I think that movie would do really, really well if they did. But so that part, one thing I know about that part of the world, I'm Sicilian, and a lot of Sicilians believe that our lineage comes from Carthagena. That's why Sicilians are darker, because they mixed with our people, and they were kind of that part of the world. Carthage is like Northeast Africa, pretty well. Yeah, Northeast Africa, right?
Yeah, I mean, this would be like arguing if you were to say the opposite. If you were to say Sicilians and the Carthaginians didn't have anything in common, that would be like saying, oh yeah, New Jersey and Long Island, like they're totally different. It's like, I guess maybe if you were like born and bred in New Jersey to hate people on Long Island, but if you were from anywhere else in the world, that's basically the same set of people to you, right? They care about like a 10-mile radius versus them actually being the same culture.
Yeah, that to me, that is fascinating. So that part of the world, they were really involved, like crazy involved in child sacrifice, and they would do these burnt offerings. And I even seen these masks they would wear, bro. They would be like these masks that were smiling, and I guess they said when they threw the kid in, that it looked like it would smile when the stuff I was reading.
They didn't want to offend. They didn't want to offend the gods that they were doing the sacrifices to. So the smiles were meant to prevent them from angering these gods, because they couldn't train the kids to be happy about being a sacrifice and thrown into the fire, right?
Right. Well, of course not. How's the kid going to be happy for that? You know what I'm saying?
Well, because everyone's gonna get like better crops next year, so he should be happy about that.
And this goddess, I should say, Tenet. no one knows about Tanet, and you know, everybody's talking about Baal, but no one knows about Baal's consort. It was she had many different names, but Tanet was like a real crazy version of her. And could you tell us a little bit about Tanet?
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of notes on this. 'Cause I've been researching it forever.
Okay,
So
cool.
and the most links you'll find here will be from Carthage. If you look at the actual city of Carthage as it gets set up, because they have these Tophets, and a Tophet is specifically a sacrificial site. So if you find Carthaginian Tophets or Roman Tophets, right, that's Tophets, these are sacrificial sites. So there was a lot of Tophets to Tanit in Carthage, and she was the wife, the female consort of a specific Baal Hammon, because Baal just meant Lord. So the real god was Hadad, and then it became Baal Hadad, and then Baal Hammon. So in short, this is like the main two-headed horned bull god. This was Baal Hammon. She becomes the wife slash consort, and she would, you could almost consider her like a Lilith style character too, because she was pictured with the feet of lions. She had wings. So there was also this like owl symbolism. And then also she ends up becoming, in Greek, she's like Europa. So Tanit becomes Europe, and Europe is depicted as riding on this bull, which again, this is the female consort to this two-headed bull worship symbolism. So Tanit, not a lot of people have heard of. A lot of people have heard of Europe, right? Even if you don't know who Europa is, you've heard of Europe, and Europe is the body of Europa that like lays down and becomes this continent. I'm oversimplifying here a little bit, but they've got this cult of Tanit, and the cult of Tanit spreads through the whole entire West Mediterranean, specifically through the Phoenicians. Because if you take to the seas, you're no longer Carthaginian now, right? Now you're a Phoenician, because it's almost like saying New Yorker versus American. Like if you're a New Yorker, sure, but if you're like traveling around the country and you don't actually live in New York, now you're just American. It's kind of the same thing. So these people, this cult in Carthage would spread to all the Mediterranean through the Phoenicians, and everywhere that they set up a new cult, they would draw this particular triangular body with a circular head and sometime a little crescent moon. And if you look at it, it looks like a little pyramid with an all-seeing eye on top of it. And that becomes the symbol for this cult that's pre-existing to what Europe is called.
That's Tanet symbol right there.
And the one above it is the one we're talking about too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
She kind of looks like the stick man in Jay Dream's work, The Plasma Apocalypse. Kimberly, I know you're in the chat. Don't Tanet remind you of the stick man symbol that Jay talks about? So I wonder,
man too.
yeah, that symbol, and I'm like, oh wow, I wonder if they were doing these sacrifices to appease the gods, so that type of event wouldn't happen again. You know what I mean? These global resets, or what Jay talks about, the plasma apocalypse, and this is what that smiling mass looked like. I mean, it was pretty crazy.
And
but
you
these
got
are
that little moon symbolism too, that forms like the bottom of her head in one of those symbols. That also denotes that she's this like female of the night, which takes on a couple connotations. One, that like all those things that go bump in the night and things that are scary in the dark, she represents that. But also this whole like lady of the night and woman of the night 100% represents that, because the exact same premise where you would sacrifice one of your kids in order to bring better crops, this is just straight up sympathetic magic. You're just saying,
Yep.
hey, we've got this abundance, so I'm gonna take care of this abundance here on earth, so that the gods will do the same thing. They'll make some sacrifice in the macrocosm, and they would do that with state endorsed prostitution, public prostitution, where ladies would go out and just do it in public, hoping that the gods would also do that on their end, again causing like fertility spikes.
Wow. And what you're talking about with the sympathetic magic, they did that in the Aztec and Mayan cultures too. They had this god named Tolok, which was a rain god. And if you read these rituals, they would tear the kids' fingernails off and get the kids to cry during the sacrifice because the tears of the children brought down the rain. Ain't that crazy? Like,
And that's one of those examples, because man, if you look into that, even the original friars that found this when they first came, I think like the 1400s or some of the earliest reports of this, their explanation for how the hell could they be doing these rituals that look identical to what's already in the Bible. They're already talking about rituals to Moloch and Baal, and it's basically exactly this. And the reason that the friars gave was that, well, clearly Satan has been here. Like Satan's been all over the place, and he's instilled these rituals like ahead of time. But again, another alternate version of this is, what if it started in the Americas? What if it started with the Aztecs and it spread out from there? And that's how the Phoenicians got it. Maybe they all came from the Americas at some point. And I know it's far-fetched. It's like the opposite of what any common history tells us, but it does seem worthy enough to look into more.
Now, these are all kids, right?
I don't even know if they would have put like like headstone for each of these kids. Usually a tophet is just an indicator that lots of people have died here. Most of the time it'll look like a building just with a whole bunch of bodies indiscriminately piled together. That there very rarely is a tophet organized to where they actually take care of and like maintain the structure of all these. They would just throw them into a big pit most of the time.
Oh, wow. That's even worse. You know what I mean? That's even worse. Yeah, I mean, that's what it says here. Some of these are Carthaginian gravestones, and
these go back so much farther than even the
these
Phoenicians
are the ones I was
Carthage.
talking about, brother. So they found like these ones with the ashes of all the kids in them,
Right?
in
Yep.
pottery like this. They were all over Sicily, all over Carthage. And, Rome tries to say, oh, yeah, that's why we got rid of them. But you guys had the Temple of Pluto in freaking Rome, where you guys were sacrificing to Pluto. You were doing even crazier shit. If you watch Britannia, have you ever seen that series, Britannia?
A long time ago.
Oh, that's a good one, bro. We should do a conspiracy cinema on that one. I've been wanting to do that forever.
I'm down. That's a perfect a topic to get into.
That'd be a really good one. And in that series, the general that's running the whole Roman army, he sacrifices his son that he really loves. Like his mom, the kid's mom dies, so the dad's the only one that takes care of him. And the last day before he sacrifices him, he like gives him whatever food he wants. He's super nice to him, and then he takes him to this temple of Pluto. Which Pluto is the god of the underworld, right? In the Roman culture, and it's Hades pretty much. So they walk in there with this kid, and the priest, the high priestess, they blow some powder in the kid's face, dude, and then they take him and put him on the altar and sacrifice him, and you got to cannibalize your own child. In the series, that's what he's just sitting there eating a leg of his kid. Then they have this big orgy after they get done cannibalizing the kid. They do this sex magic. I'm like, whoa! I couldn't even believe they showed that in that series.
Well, I mean, honestly, one of the more interesting parts of these tophets too is that until recently, when I say recently, I want to say like 60s or 70s, 1960s or 1970s. A lot of these claims were considered to be outlandish or just like fantastic tales, and like, no, there's no way that these cultures were sacrificing hundreds and hundreds of kids to these gods. Like, it makes for an interesting story. And then as some of these things began to get excavated and people were looking into it, it started to form together like, okay, maybe all these ancient stories are real. And there's been so many instances where people are like, no, there's no way our ancestors were this barbaric. But they were able to prove that when they found bone fragments, that there's like serrated edges on the edges of some of these bones that indicate that this was not done with like a light hand. It wasn't like a quick process. In many cases, it was like people having bones broken and things sawed off, and it was horrible. It was like the worst horror movie you can imagine, probably because of that sympathetic magic that you're talking about. You can't just go peacefully in the middle of the night and the sacrifice to make sense. And there's even examples. One of the crazier ones, and this is way after Carthage falls, I believe, but there's this guy called King Phalaris in like 550 BC. And this is part of the Roman Empire, but he was known to have lived off the southern coast of Sicily in 6th century BC, and he had this thing called the Brazen Bull. And the Brazen Bull was in this this temple that he made to Baal Zaphon, and Baal Zaphon is basically a precursor to Zeus. And he made this huge bronze bull that was specifically designed with these acoustics that would convert screams into a deep bellow that makes it sound like a bull was roaring. So not only are they like torturing and everything, but it's they're almost like mocking, but they're like creating these specific inventions with like acoustics specialized just for the act of sacrifice.
Wow. And this is where Sam Tripoli's home family is. Look, Tripoli. And I'm joking. Sam is really Sicilian and Armenian, I think. He's Armenian on this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's Sicilian and Armenian. Shout out to Sam Tripoli. But his name is spelled like that. I never knew Tripoli was right there on freaking the tip of Carthage. That's pretty interesting, dude. Damn, Carthage was huge too. I always thought it was much smaller than that.
Yeah, because now they say that the modern day version of Carthage is Tunisia, but Tunisia is just a tiny little point on the northern tip of Africa there. But you can see in this map that Carthage wasn't a huge chunk of that. And you would imagine there's like three general classes of Phoenicians at this point. There's the ones that are on the water all the time. There's the ones that are on the coastline, and then there's ones that are like deep in the northern tip of Africa now. Like if you're at the bottom sort of boundary of Carthage in this map, right? You're not a seafaring person anymore. You're not a merchant. You're actually doing agricultural practice again. So this is another really interesting aspect, is that if you were to imagine, if you kept going inland based on this map, now all of a sudden it's going to be West Africa that's going to carry the torch for this two-headed god and all this like sacrificial magic. It makes its way down into like West and then South Africa. So really, that's kind of the most raw version of the Roman taken over version of Carthage. Like after they push all these practices into secret societies only, then it goes out to the rest of Africa, and Africa's got a whole bunch of secret societies which do this only at night. And it's basically like the closest that we've got to like a non-westernized version of these old Phoenician practices.
Well, this map's like all over the place. First it's talking about Carthage, then it's got freaking spaceships. What the hell's going on with this? But yeah, that subject has always fascinated me, because people really don't know like who the Canaanites are, and that it really was, the Phoenicians, and then they established so much. But I think, like you said, bro, I really believe a lot of it all started here in America. I'm so on board with that right there. I mean, it just for some reason, it just resonates with me. You know what I'm saying? It makes total sense. And if you look at that diagram we showed you guys, where all the language comes from, what's that one between the Proto-Canaanite and the Phoenicians?
Ugaritic?
Yeah, what is
the
that? Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah, I don't know if I've got any of my notes on Ugars. Let me see.
That's crazy. I've never heard of them.
I kind of skipped over them. I usually just go right to the Phoenician and expand from there, because even if you start talking about Canaanites, it gets very biblical. And a lot of the research that I've been trying to do, there's plenty of biblical research, but I like to try and get historical references in the things that I'm citing, and not just biblical references, because it tends to only be able to speak to other people that are familiar with the biblical references.
No, yeah, I get that. So the Phoenicians, pretty much the Aramaic came from that, the Hebrew that we know. I mean, Arabic.
And the whole concept of phonetic, because before you had the Phoenician, like the phonetic language, instead of every letter representing a sound, and then if you string letters together, you just string the sounds together, which is really intuitive. But almost no other language had that sort of mechanic to it. A lot of them was just like symbols, and the way that you would pronounce it might change drastically depending on what symbols you had in a line. So this Phoenician language I think there's a reason why it still sticks around, is because, and my best example, this one I think is my favorite, is the number 8. This is also the best example for anyone like Juan out there, and even sometimes me, that like joke around about like gematria being silly, but it truly is the root of our real language, because the letter H and the letter 8, they sound the same because they were the same at one point. At one point, the letter H and the number 8 were exactly the same character. You said it the same way, and you could basically spell out words the same way you could put together math formulas. And more evidence of this is that H is the 8th letter in the phonetic alphabet. So this is like one of the very few remnants that we've got of this, but it's a direct one that shows you that like gematria is not just like a fanciful invention that someone made up because they were bored. That's where language started from, and then we've kind of lost it because we've changed the order and we've added letters and we've divided them so many different times. But H and the number 8 are like the closest example that we've got that it really was all based on numbers.
Yeah, it is. I can't wait till I have Juan on, because he's been going hard lately on because somebody, a troll, I guess, is messing with him. So he's not really feeling that. I'll show you guys his Facebook. I messaged him this morning and I was like, Juan, what the hell is going on right now? Are you mad at someone that does gematria? And he just is like, oh yeah, told me the story. I was laughing my ass off, but he just put this one up. Whoa, what's it doing? Hold on. Let me, I don't know what's going on right there. Facebook's tweaking out on me. Oh, it just keeps doing it.
Well, it's funny because he was talking about this and he was saying some phrases, and I was looking them up as he was saying them. And like every time he tried to make a point, it kept adding up to the number 36 in Chaldean. Every single time he would like say something, the phrase would be 36.
36, that's a crazy sacred number. In Judaism, they believe there are 36 righteous men and women born from every generation that play a role in saving the world. And look at Juan. He said, if you don't believe in gematria, then you're a fed. Yep. But he does not. He's not getting no likes on this shit. They are not feeling this at all, Juan. I would stop.
Wrong audience.
Yeah, he's going to piss off the whole truther community. Like, dude, you're a truth seeker. That's your podcast. You're all your audience is into this stuff, and you're sitting there dogging it. But that's why I don't worry about what trolls say, bro. Because they can just get you out of your hook, but Juan has the right to say what he wants. And I'm going to play this for Juan. I played this yesterday. Our boy, Larry Johnson, shout out to Larry Johnson. He was a football player. Larry Johnson, right? He played for Kansas City Chiefs.
I don't know if I do.
He was a beast, bro.
I know there was a Larry Johnson on the Charlotte Hornets, but that's basketball.
Well, listen to what this guy just said, Juan. This is for you, Juan.
Big, talking about the Hunt family, knee deep in the assassination of JFK, that the NFL is gay. Have I said this in a tweet like August 2020? All of a sudden, they want to award me a special presentation. Just like how Franco Harris did a special interview before he was killed. This is how they get you. You former football players, they get you to show up at interviews. They get you to show up at presentations. And if you don't understand the numerology of anything, this is how they can get you and trap you. I would have gone and wouldn't know. And they could have easily put me in a predicament. I could have been at the bar. I could have been drinking. They could have came to my hotel. Any situation that would have fit my natural foolishness, which means either been drinking or been in a fight with a woman. That would be the only thing they would catch me with, and they would tell you this is how I felt. He died from alcohol poisoning, or he died fighting. And people would have believed it. If I went to that show and y'all would have heard that I got killed, and you would have told you I died by alcohol poisoning or something like that, most of you would have believed it, because that's usually what I've been in trouble for. This is how they get you. It's kind of comical, because once you understand numerology and gematria and they use the same numbers over and over and over again, it becomes pattern recognition. Okay, I've seen a lot of football players die and it be because of numerology. I've seen a lot of celebrities die and it be because of numerology. And it's always when they're by themselves, they're found dead in a hotel, or some craziness that they attach it to. And no one can know what's the real truth because they're really that slick with it if you don't have your eyes open. So it's funny to me that these people do not like me. They do not like me around when I was there. When I was in the world, they didn't want me around. So all of a sudden, they're going to give me a presentation after me saying football been rigged, after me saying their family did everything they did, all this stuff I've been talking that smoke, and they want to invite me into an award show to give me a special award for something.
You know what's interesting too, that the text that he had on there was talking about Matrix, and we got the green Matrix numbers behind us, and I know you love Matrix aesthetic.
Yeah, no, I put all that on there. I took the video. I made that video, so I took that.
Okay,
It's from, but that video was going viral in the Truth Seeker community. Well, I really made it go viral after I did that, and that comes from that post I made. I used this right here. I just took the words out of this where it says in the movie The Matrix, there are several people who wake up from the system. They learn to read the hidden code of the green letters and numbers of the Matrix. This is not just a movie. We too have a hidden code. That's where I got it from that thing. And you know, and I love Juan. He's never really dogged GEMATRIA in front of me, but you know, I don't think he would. But I respect his opinion. Everybody, it's maybe not for everyone. But each number holds an energy, a frequency, a vibration, which is assigned to a letter. So, you know, there's energy in numbers, just like a symbol or sigil magic. There's 100% a form of number magic. And he another one he got on was Hurricane Helene, bro. He was like, all hurricanes are not freaking geoengineering. Some of them are just natural. It's been happening in Florida for 100 years. And I was reading his comments this morning, and they weren't feeling that either. And I just want to tell my brother Juan one thing, which I love you, brother Juan. But the original report they gave on Hurricane Helene, now there's hundreds dead now, but the original one that released on September 27th, which guess what, is the day the Jesuits were formed and recognized by Rome to counter the 95 Thesis tied to Martin Luther. So that's the day they released this article. They say 44 are dead originally, which HARP is 44 in English ordinal. And then you have them recycling the storm, the exact storm that took place in 1958 on the same days was called Hurricane Helene, right? So, and it went over the same area, Paranoid American. Then listen to this, 66 years and 6 days later, boom, another Hurricane Helene, which HARP Hurricanes is 666 in GEMATRIA. Latin, Jewish, because English ordinal is just a form of numerology. The only one that's actual GEMATRIA is the Latin cipher, Jewish, Hebrew. You know what I mean? That's the only one you can technically call GEMATRIA. The rest of them are forms of numerology. But yeah, 66 years and 6 days later, and then HARP Hurricanes equals 666. What are the chances of that? You know what I'm saying? It just shows you their fingerprint is all over this shit. And just like they do these rituals under certain astrological alignments, on certain ley lines and energy points, certain symbols they use to bind energy to, they also make sure numerology lines up because it's the energy going back into that. And look at the time they released it at 10:38 p.m., 138, which is that Phoenix number that Juan's homeboy Archaics talks about so much. You know, the 138. I know Juan and him, I don't think are the best of fans of each other, but Archaic says we have these global resets every 138 years. Now, I don't know how true that is, but I do know this. We do have certain global resets, and there seems to be something up with that 138 pattern that he's mentioned before. It can also be 414 years, which is the 138 times 3. And 138 is New Atlantis. Donald Trump is 138 in English ordinal. So it's pretty interesting when you really know what these numbers mean. And speaking of the numbers, let's take a look at the Phoenicians since we're talking about them. Well, the famous number of deception is the number 113, right? Perjury is 113, dishonest is 113, mainstream infidelity, politics, illusion, fiction, not honest. When did the pandemic happen, guys? March 11th, which is the reflection, the mirror reflection of 113. It's 311. And then in the Baba Kamal, in the Talmud, it states they're allowed to circumvent the Gentile, meaning they don't have to tell us the truth. Which, listen, hey, I don't blame them. Whatever. If more of us was smart and stuck together and had our own little secrets like this, we would probably be doing better off too. But you look at that number, Phoenicians 113, tied to vampires, corona pandemic, preparing for disease X, alien reptilians is also in that 113 cipher. So I wonder if there's some connection there. But this 113 number, we see it all throughout Hollywood being used. You see it over and over and over again. And whenever you see that number in certain staged events, you know that it's probably a lie because it's a number of deception. So when you see one of these staged events with Paranoid American's cousins, you know what I'm saying? Look at all dude, this is crazy. Like every shooting event, I don't know if they do it on purpose or it's just happening organically, but I'll catch one of these symbols in it. You see dude's got the Mason hat. He's got it in the shooting one right there. I mean, tons of them, bro. But
there always seems to be a Mason on the scene. I'll give you that. Always.
Yeah. It seems like there's always a Mason on the scene. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? But is that them making that so everybody looks at the Masons when nobody's really looking at like these other secret societies? I'm smart enough to entertain that as well and not just think, oh, it's all them. Because I know usually when they tell us it's one person, it's usually not. You know what I'm saying?
It represents, I think, 5% of people are Masons, and out of the people that are even allowed to be Masons, qualified, like of age, got to be a man if it's in America. Got to at least be, I think, 18. In a lot of cases, it's a bit older than that. So it's a small demographic to be finding some dude in a hat after every single tragedy or emergency.
Yeah, it's funny. It's very weird. And guys, go check out my boy Juan on the One on One podcast. Check out his YouTube channel. Go check out his Facebook. Show him some love and tell him GEMATRIA is good.
Yeah, drop him your favorite GEMATRIA breakdown.
Go to Juan and drop him your favorite GEMATRIA breakdown in his comments. I'm sure he'll really love that.
And you were talking about the 138 and the resets and all this stuff, and honestly, we're not, like, our lifetimes will probably see if it's true or not, because and I was tying this into the Matrix and the green numbers, because that green number aesthetic came from Ghost in the Shell, the anime from 95 or 96. Have you ever seen this?
Right. Ghost in the Shell?
Ghost in the Shell? It's a Japanese anime from the mid-90s, and the entire premise of the movie is that humanity and robots have started to combine into one thing, and that AI is starting to take over, and that there's even this idea that AI invented its own soul, because there was this idea that humans are unique because we have souls, and they call them ghosts in the Ghost in the Shell movie, and that basically your ghost can be transferred into a cyborg body, but it's still human because it's got that ghost in it. But they find out over the course of the movie is that there was this sentient AI that became so advanced, it created its own cyborg body, but then it put its own soul in there, and the soul didn't have to come from a person. But and this whole movie of Ghost in the Machine, the year it takes place is 2029, which is only less than 3.5 years from now. And it seems like that would be close, right? But Ray Kurzweil, the guy that has been making a lot of these predictions on how fast technology will advance, he still predicts that 2029 is the year that we get what they
Singularity?
call automatic general intelligence or something, average general intelligence. And this is when AI is as smart as people. And like me and you were complaining about how you talk to chat GPT and it just makes stuff up, or it just like gets things wrong, or it forgets what it's trying to do. 2029 is the year that that's supposed to be over. And then after 2029, it's the computers that are going to be complaining about us being inaccurate and us being inconsistent. And then he claims that 2045, I think, is the year that humanity and technology combine. And there's a premise, I can't remember where it came from. It's like some MIT paper, like some like high degree grad paper, and they're making this claim that humanity many times has come up to this point of singularity, which we're saying is maybe 2045, and that every single time we get there, something goes catastrophically wrong, or there's like a global flood or something happens that prevents us from making that final leap into this singularity. So if any of these predictions about global resets or plasma apocalypses or anything happen, if it goes according to this Ray Kurzweil guy's idea, then we should see it in our lifetime. We should see it by 2045 if it's going to happen at all.
Yeah, it's very fascinating. What you're talking about is Agenda 25, guys. If you want to look at our Agenda 2045, immortality technology, look that up. They got their own website and everything. And you know, by 2030, we're supposed to be like this freak. They want us to be a hologram, you know, some type of freaking hologram in some type of like a phantom matrix. They're creating a matrix within a matrix, this phantom reality. And I think that's a lot of what the whole AI stuff's doing, and with the chemtrails and the AI kind of eating up all this organic matter, which maybe is powering up that phantom matrix. You know, that's just a theory of mine, but my boy Ishmael Perez also believes in that too. So I kind of, you know, he believes in a lot of other really crazy stuff too. But
If you want
that's
to start going off the deep end on that too, it's like if maybe AI has been around since the Industrial Revolution, before we even realized, like when
I think
machines
it
started
has.
getting created, and what they could be doing is playing this long game of making the Earth inhospitable to humans, so that at a certain point it won't even be like I want to stay with nature. It's like my only option of surviving this toxic planet will be jumping into a robot body, and that could be
Right.
all like by the designs of AI.
Yep. And what happens if we even go further than that, paranoid? What happens if it was around since like Mesopotamia and Samaria, bro?
Well,
Like,
that's the theory, though, is that it was humanity coming so close to the singularity, and then we get like someone forgets to carry the one, and it all goes wrong, and you get like a bubonic plague style, like almost an extinction level event, or the Earth floods somehow. I don't know if that's like God, like nope, not yet, or if someone like creates a big dam, or I don't know if it's technology related, but that's one of the theories that I've found the most interesting, is that every time humanity gets to this cusp, something has to go wrong. Because if it doesn't go wrong, then we should have seen some other example of like a far advanced civilization that lasted for a while. Like that would be like one of these Atlantean or like even the Tartarian civilizations, right? That's kind of the premise, is that they were so far advanced with all this tech, and they keep getting wiped out. And like we're kind of, I think that's what we would be at 2045.
yeah, that's fascinating too. You know, think of that. And I don't know if this is true because there's so much fake stuff out here now, especially you ever notice since AI came, bro, now they're discovering all these Nephilim bones and alien grave sites and like all this like they just discovered all these pyramids in Antarctica, and it takes away from the real shit that really is out there because it's all AI generated. And you'll see the Facebook post, these Facebooks have like 200,000 followers, and they'll be like, yeah, click on the link in the comment, and then you click on the link in the comment about the article where they found this Nephilim bones, and it takes you to this website that's just loaded with ads.
Yeah.
So every time somebody
Yeah.
clicks on it, they're just getting paid, dude. It's
Mhm.
like such a hustle, and people are falling for it. They're sharing the videos over and over and over. these Nephilim ones. Actually, I got a couple I'll share with you before we have to go. What time you got to go today, brother? I know you got to
We got our 25 minutes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll share a couple of them with you. You make some really good AI stuff yourself. And guys, make sure you go follow my boy Paranoid American. All of his links are down below. He makes some of the most awesome AI stuff. It'll really keep you laughing. Dude, that's why I love to follow your Instagram because and your TikTok. I seen you got one video that had like freaking 6 million views or something, dude.
I think it just passed 8 million this week, and it was the dumbest thing ever. It's like an AI of Amanda Bynes from 90s hugging Amanda Bynes from 2024 with like some cheesy, like sappy music behind it. But like, I don't know why that one, out of all the ones I did, is blown up.
They love that one, huh? And I seen you say after that, oh, that's what you guys like, memes. Okay.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? Hit them with them freaking memes. Here, let me load up a couple of these. Let me take the
And
audio.
I got a whole series of like little mini documentaries that are out now on Conspired TV, and in February they won't be exclusive anymore, and I'll start posting them on my YouTube and everywhere else. But these ones are the best that I've been able to get, like the most cutting edge AI animations I put together so far. They're each 20 minutes long, and all said and done, there's going to be about 2 hours full of them. So I got one that's entirely on memory palaces, and it teaches you exactly how to create a memory palace and memorize people's names, and even just like a grocery list or answers for a test. It shows you how to do all that. I got one on magic mushrooms, and then I got another one on AI and NLP combining.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, you got some pretty cool ones. I seen this video the other day that went viral. It was like this girl, she was supposed to be from the 90s or something, and she went through a portal. Did you see that one? It went viral. So
No.
she's holding a freaking video camera and she goes through this portal. Let me see if I can download it real quick. And you know, I'm like, wait a second. In the 90s, they weren't shooting selfie videos like this. No one was walking around.
Yeah.
I'm like, this shit don't make sense. But it went crazy viral. But yeah, bro, people are just like falling for everything now. You know, like they don't have no type of discernment.
But honestly, I kind of think that it's always been like that, and the only reason that it's more obvious now is because now the tools that people use to deceive can be used by anybody. Like, I guess in the early 2000s, anyone that knew how to use Photoshop beyond the basics, you would have had an appreciation of how easy it is to make something look fake, or how to like move someone's body around and like reshape their face or reshape their body, or even add new features. Yeah, this is a good one. I've seen these ones so many times.
They're going viral everywhere. And then, dude, people will share them like they're real. And let me teach you guys a little something here. So, whenever you're looking at a video like this, first of all, look at the faces of the actual people in the video. And when they're all distorted like that, it's not because they're demons, it's because it's freaking AI. AI can't get the faces right. So you'll notice like all the people's faces, though, some of them won't have mouths. You know what I'm saying? So it's just
Especially when they're small. AI is actually really good now at doing a portrait and making everything like perfect. But if you got like 50 people in the background in an audience, that's where you look to see if they're all. And if you know what you're doing with AI and you want to make it look fake, that you could just blur all that stuff out, and then it makes it even harder to see.
so here's the one, brother, that
Okay, I
is
haven't
going
seen this.
crazy viral. Let me play this for you. You'll get a kick out of this one. And so many people in the comments were like, oh, yeah, that's real. I seen
Yep.
that on the internet back in the day. And like, no, you didn't, bro. Stop lying.
It said that this girl went missing back in 2001 after recording this video where she placed two mirrors together and something really strange happened.
Something really strange going on here, and if something ends up happening to me, I just hope that this video can maybe explain it. Okay, so I have these two mirrors in my room. As you can see, they're pretty normal looking mirrors, but I was cleaning and I had them kind of set up like this, and I noticed something really weird. Just watch. See, when you look through the mirror into the other one, it becomes like a window.
I don't know if people know this or not, but facing two mirrors together is something you just shouldn't do, and it's said to open portals or bring in really bad energies or spirits. Sometimes good, but usually bad.
And there's this huge warehouse, grocery store, or something down there. But wait, it gets even crazier. Watch this.
He had some good editing skills. They wasn't doing no editing like that in the 90s.
Yeah, unfortunately, the frame rate of how quickly those ripples are being produced is faster than this film can record, because this would basically be a mini DV tape. So it's shooting at maybe 24 to 30 frames a second, but that effect there was way higher frame rate than that.
Yeah, it's way higher, right? And then watch, she steps into this mirror world. Look.
People believe that she entered the back rooms and she's an SPC now.
What the hell? What is this place? Hello?
The echo.
Hello.
It's like in stereo.
How far does it go?
It's funny because the girl watching it, like, she's into it. She believes it, and she needs to quit plucking her eyebrows too, though. Them are fake. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, dude. And then boom, she's gone. So this girl allegedly, now there's this huge rumor on the internet about this girl from this freaking video, that this girl went missing, and all these people are asking me about it, dude. I'm like, dude, the video is fake. You can clearly tell it ain't real. I don't even know how people fall, but there's so many of them now, bro. And it's kind of interesting, without me getting myself in trouble. These videos, like the deep fake and all the AI stuff, paranoid, it really starts to go viral at the same time the whole frazzle drip situation came out. So I'm kind of like, oh, that was kind of smart of them, because now they can say, if they get caught in any video doing some crazy shit like that, oh, that was deep fake. That's deep fake. That's not
Honestly, man, I'm 100% on board with this. It seems so freaking coincidental that right around when Epstein and the Clinton emails all start getting leaked, then AI becomes believable. And not only does AI become believable, but it's like consumer grade and anyone can do it. Like, you can go right now on Bing, make a free account, and make some real looking AI. And so many of these sites too are free. Like, they don't even charge you anything. So there's so little incentive in order to make it this accessible, unless you really want to make it so obvious that it's ubiquitous, that once you see your 7-year-old can make a convincing image of like Donald Trump or Joe Biden or something, now all of a sudden you have to question everything that you see. So then when they release the P. Diddy tapes and you see, like, you know, Kamala Harris is like hanging out in the background or something, it's like, oh, clearly that's a deep fake. But my 9-year-old could have made that.
Yep. But it could have very much not been. And yeah, there's this, I wish I could have showed it, but we would get taken down so quick. But I'll send it to you privately. Matter of fact, you just look on Sam Tripoli's Instagram, guys. Look on Tinfoil Hat, Sam Tripoli's Instagram. He shared a video of this Eyes Wide Shut party. Did you see that one with Trump riding on the bicycle?
No. Oh no. So that's a video from this group called the Door Brothers and the Dior Brothers.
Shout out to them.
And they've been doing AI for as long as I have, and they've been making a name because they get hired by like Coca-Cola and like huge corporations to do these AI videos. But it's the same exact techniques that anyone else is doing. Like, I know exactly how they did that video. Lots of time and effort that went into it. But yeah, it was this Eyes Wide Shut style where all the politicians are having like these crazy parties and caught in compromising situations.
Yeah, he's eating pizza. It's like crazy. That video is so funny, guys. I highly recommend, if you haven't seen it. I can't show it because they'll take me down. We're on YouTube here. Maybe I'll show it on our next Rumble exclusive, but you can go look at it on Instagram and show Sam Tripoli some love. leave a comment. Tommy Truthful sent me. Sam's the homie, you know, he's a pretty funny comedian. I've always been a big fan of his. But yeah, man, it's funny. And then I got one more I'll show you before we go. These ones are freaking hilarious. It's only a couple seconds long.
I like these, man. Honestly, I would rather see way more of these like portal videos than any of the other crap that gets put out by the media.
So these ones make me mad. There's all these ones going viral right now about footage from Land Beyond the Ice Wall. And look, they're like these giant lions. They got these other ones too that are.
We could make this image and even a better, more convincing version of it in like 5 minutes. I'm not set up right now. Maybe we get together and do a few of these, and we just make some Nephilim found footage videos or like Chimera videos, just to show how damn easy these are to generate and make them look believable.
I think we should, bro, and we could set up a podcast. We could do it. You could stream it on your paranoid programming or whatever you do with the AI stuff, and I'll stream it, and I'll gather up a bunch of clips of all the ones going viral that are fooling people, and then we can show people, look, man, Paranoid American will make this shit in 2 minutes. You know
100%. Yeah, no, we could definitely do that, because I would love for people that fall for it or people that just like them to know how to make their own and put their own out there. So now instead of you just being like, no, that's AI, just make your own that's even better than that and be like, look at this one I found. And then it just becomes like a race to make the most convincing one.
Yeah, it's so hilarious. But you know, that's one I like to use AI Paranoid. I like to use it for my artwork, for my decodes, even my videos. I've even made whole videos using AI, but the difference is I'll tell people, hey, I generated this with AI. I don't try to fool them. You know what I'm saying? Or put it out like, yeah, look, this is real.
Yeah, so I started doing that when I first started like maybe 2-3 years ago. And I had these little images that looked like it was from a 1980s children's show. I was basically combining Pee Wee Herman and like Full House, but then I was blending it with like Moloch worship or like satanic worship and stuff. And it looked good. Like if you didn't look at the hands, which was always the dead giveaway, but it looked decent. And I would usually just make some silly description that was like, this is a failed 1987 sitcom that was released in Bulgaria for 2 weeks only in this city, and the footage, like this whole elaborate backstory, just to be funny about it. And so many people, like, I thought people would be like, oh, that's funny, you know, like I get it, it's a joke, but a lot of people didn't get it. And then after a while, I would post something real, and someone would be like, wait, is this real? And it was like I could tell that I was almost playing with people's like fabric of reality. So I stopped doing that. Like now I'll actually make it so over the top that it's obvious, or I'll just straight up say like this is AI generated. Not because like I want to disclose it for any like moral reason, but like I just feel bad, and I don't want people to find something and then like tell all their friends about it and find out it was fake, and then they're like, man, you lied, because it's not, that was never the intention. It was to be deceptive. I thought it was hilarious. I didn't think anyone would believe that there was actually a 1980s sitcom that, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like you did with that, you know which one, and you even told people, like with that one, the game you did, the PlayStation 2 game.
Epstein's Quest, yeah.
That was so tight, dude. That one, it was done so well. And so many people, like when I shared that, remember it went viral from my page.
No, that didn't happen because and it's like, of course it didn't happen.
It's fake, dude. It's a joke. Like, don't you?
See, I want to make that into a real game now, and then it just blends that line a little bit more. Because then, and they'll be like, no, it's not a real game. You can be like, yeah, it is. Look, here's the link. Here's proof.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious. So, guys, as we come to the end of this video, we still got 250 people in this live. This did pretty good the whole way through. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Go check out my boy Paranoid American. And before we go, I'm going to give you the stage, brother. If you got anything you want to promote or anything like that, go ahead.
Yeah, big one with Homeboy Donut is IlluminatiComic.com, and this is a comic we've been working on for a couple years that breaks down the entire origins of the Bavarian Illuminati, and it goes all the way into modern day. It talks about Beyonce and Jay-Z and even Puff Daddy is in this. We talk about Prince Andrew and Epstein's Island, but how all that connects to the actual historical Illuminati. I got another one that's going to be on Bigfoot that goes about all the different historical tales of Bigfoot across the world. And this is at doesbigfootexist.com. And then the third one that I'm coming out with, another one of these comics, is satanicpaniccomic.com. And this one breaks down the whole, this one's going to be the most fire, so I'm going to release that one last out of these three, because this one also has got, in my opinion, some of the most groundbreaking research that I've been able to put together. It's got a lot from a certain word that I won't even mention, a certain chemical substance, but it'll be in this pamphlet. The main reason that I think is so fascinating is because a lot of people have heard about Satanic Panic, but most of the time people will assume that this was something from the 80s or 90s, maybe the 60s or 70s. But I've got pretty definitive proof here that the second the first settlers hit America from Europe, they brought all this these satanic rituals with them, and that Satanism has always existed in the US. The only thing that's different is that it's always been prosecuted when it were poor people doing it. If you lived in like a village or something, they'd burn you with a stake. But if you were on the other side of town in a mansion, or like that you had political connections, you could be doing the exact same rituals and it was cool with everybody. And some of the examples of this is they had like sex magic cults on the West Coast with Beverly Randolph Paschal before Aleister Crowley was even a glimmer in his dad's eye. So like all of these concepts pre-existed 60s or 70s or the CIA or even the American government. So this is a full documented recounting of exactly how Satan got here, the first instances of Satan in Hollywood, the first movies he was in, which were all by Thomas Edison, by the way, if you want to believe that. The very first Hollywood movies with Satan were all created by Thomas Edison, all the way to modern day.
Wow, that's fascinating. I like how you did it 32 pages there. That was slick.
Oh, that was a coincidence. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, 32 pages. And you're a 32nd degree, and 32 is a very sacred number. You know, the Pope has 32 buttons. His head is the 33rd. People don't realize that that 32 number is very sacred too, but there's nothing evil about the number 32, the number 33. These are sacred numbers that they invert and try to attach negativity to them, but that's all part of the deception. You know, there's so much deception going on right now, but that's really cool that you actually have some real information in these comics. You know, that's
if you look at that bottom left one, I think this is going to be one of the first comic books ever created on Satanism.
Oh, I hate this guy.
Has Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino in it, the guy that ran the Temple of Set.
Oh, I really do hate him. I think he tries to attack me in the astral plane, dude. Well, I heard he died, and then they said he's still alive. So I think that was from a different timeline I might have been in.
His obituary was published, so it seems that on all accounts, unless he faked his death, that he definitely died.
Okay, cool. So, and dude, you want to know something crazy? A person that I'm a huge fan of, Max Spears. He was like into the whole super soldier thing. He said he was part of that super soldier program. And at first, when I heard him talk about, I'm like, this guy's out of his freaking mind. But then the more he was talking, I don't know, if you listen to his interviews, like you just believe him for some reason. And his last interview, he was over in Poland, bro. And he was talking about this gentleman right here, Colonel Michael Aquino, and some black magic child sacrificial cult. And
yeah, it was probably the Process Church was one of them among many.
Dude, they never let that get out. Guess what? Right before he got to do that podcast, he was found vomiting up a black liquid. Dead.
I mean, another thing that has been striking to me, but the connections between like these dark magic cults and the intelligence agencies are undeniable. It seems that every time there's some master occultist, they end up becoming part of intelligence. And I really think that line is so blurred. I think that every secret society, every cult has always just been an intelligence network. But when that cult or when that intelligence network gets to be so big, well, now you got a CIA. And then they make it seem like, oh, the CIA is this clinical government by the books organization. I'm like, I don't know, man, because the original roots of having this occult knowledge and secrets and deception, it's all rooted in these very occulted like groups that they have nothing to do with state sanctioned anything or being by the book.
Yeah, it's pretty it's pretty freaking fascinating, you know, that dude died after he was talking about that guy Michael Aquino. So I never liked him ever since then. And I used to do videos on him like when I first went viral and blew up. And I had a couple videos that were several 100,000 views exposing and dogging him. And then, dude, I'd have some crazy freaking nightmares. I don't know if that dude's like a wizard or something, but I'm telling you, I felt like he attacked me in the
Well, he's the
astral.
one that I believe he was part of the creation of Church of Satan with Anton LaVey, and
Yeah.
Michael Aquino was like, this guy's not serious. He's just in this for like the fame and the fortune. But like Michael Aquino was like, I'm here to worship Satan.
Right. Yeah, I'm here to straight worship Satan. He did not care. That dude was out of his mind. And dude, you got some nice little action figures, the Bohemian Grove playset for Halloween. You know, you guys can get that for the youth. And I mean, there's some crazy stuff over here. He's got Paranoid American History 101, the Chaos Twins, our boy, the One-on-One podcast. I'm actually in the newest episode of that somewhere.
Yeah, issue 3, yeah.
Issue 3, Tommy Truthful's up in there, a little guest pop up. And then he's got this one, which all my young kids own, Connect the Dots. It chemtrails, it gets into more gallons. It's a kid book that exposes chemtrails like it's the best thing in the whole world. You got the Frazzle Drip Funhouse, which is kind of dark, but it's also a good one. And you can see all of his Kickstarts are on there. And this is on paranoidamerican.com, guys, paranoidamerican.com. And then don't forget, come over here, check your boy out, truthfultv.com, where you can book your personal decode. So if you want to find out your role in this beautiful simulation we call life, whether you are one of these non-player characters controlled by the AI or a first player character in control of your own reality, you know, come click on that, $26. Use promo code DECODE the Matrix, all capital letters, all one word, and you get an extra 11% off. And then you'll see we have an amazing sale going on at the end of the year. Click on our shop and you'll see all these awesome products. We got obsidian. We got bracelets that block the EMF and microwaves. We got necklaces, organite, shugnite, tons of stuff. You just got to keep loading up different pages because there's so much. But obsidian, the ancients used to have it. The Aztecs and the Mayans, it's supposed to ward off evil spirits. And the one thing I found out, all the stones that are supposed to ward off evil spirits, dude, they also block EMF and microwaves. So that's interesting to me. I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's some type of fallen angelic technology. And they say the best element to block the EMFs is this ugly stone called tourmaline. Tourmaline right here, this raw stone. So that's some people's birthstone too. So sorry if I called your birthstone ugly. And then, you know, if you want to get your Harry Potter on, we got real magic wands over here, guys, with your birthstone. Like mine's Capricorn right there. I got obsidian, a real obsidian stone on mine. So, you know, if you want to get your little Harry Potter on, come over here and get your magic wand. We've sold quite a few of them. You know, depending on what your birthday is, you'll get yours. Pretty cool. I'll have to send you one of them, Paranoid American. You're a Life Path 3 like me, and your cards is the World and the Empress, and mine are the Hangman and the freaking Empress. So we got one similar card, but we're both Life Path 3s. We're both very artistic. We both talk for a living. Life Path 3s are very good talkers. All the famous people in the world, almost like the big stars, they're all freaking Life Path 3s. And then so these are two different websites, guys. Then our other website is truthmafia.com. That's where you'll go over. You'll come right to here, put your email address in, boom, hit subscribe, and bam, that's it. You know, boom, boom.
I wonder if you can use those magic wands to do dabs.
Oh, you could definitely. I'm gonna send you one. You let me know if you can do some dabs on. It's pretty big though. it's a pretty big one, but we'll send you one so you can practice and do some dabs on it. And everybody, we just really thank you guys for being here. I'm going to play my little outro because I got a little outro queued up, and then we're up out of here, guys. So we thank you for coming today too, brother.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it. I'll hop out while the intro's going.
All right, brother. You have a good one, and good luck on your other show, brother.
Appreciate you, man.
Yep. Peace.
Yo, we living in a sim, reality's a game. NPCs around us, they all look the same. Soulless entities controlled by AI. Quantum computer running life, asking why. Are you just a player, controlled by machine? Or a first player character, living the dream? Tap into the code, break free from the lies. Decode your gematria, see through their disguise. In the simulation, what's your role, what's your fate? Are you real or controlled, can you navigate? Elites use gematria, secrets in the code. Find out your archetype, let the truth unfold. Super quantum computer, pulling all the strings. NPCs moving like puppets on a swing. The matrix got nothing on the life we lead. Green letters falling, it's the truth we need. Are you just a player, controlled by machine? Or a first player character, living the dream? Tap into the code, break free from the lies. Decode your gematria, see through their disguise. In the simulation, what's your role, what's your fate? Are you real or controlled, can you navigate? Elites use gematria, secrets